Buenas tardes a todos y todas.
Hello, everyone. As you can see on this slide, we are pleased to provide simultaneous interpretation today in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. You can click on the globe button at the bottom of your computer screen and select your preferred language. In addition to simultaneous interpretation, during today's session, you have the option to view the slides in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. If you wish to continue viewing the slides in Spanish, you don't need to do anything. If you wish to view the slides in English or Portuguese, you move the cursor to the top of the screen and click on the arrow next to View Options. Under Shared Screens, select the language in which you would prefer to view the presentation. And if you have any difficulty accessing the audio or the slides in your preferred language, please let us know in the Q&A function or email us at dataalliance@bloomberg.org. On behalf of Bloomberg Philanthropies, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this briefing on the Bloomberg Philanthropies Seeded Data Alliance, an innovative program to help cities transform their use of data. My name is Florence Juilliard, and I lead Philanthropies data programs and have had the privilege of working closely with the first group of 22 cities that are part of this initiative. Today, we will cover 4 topics. First, you will learn what prompted this opportunity, how City Data Alliance came about, and its main objectives. Next, my colleagues Carolina Araujo and Sheila Duchisela will share some details on how the program is structured. We will then share an overview of the application, and finally, we will answer your questions in a Q&A session. As the questions arise throughout our time together, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen in the language of your choice. We will compile them for discussion together during the Q&A session. Over a 3-year period, the Bloomberg Philanthropies City Data Alliance will identify a total of 100 cities in North, Central, and South America that are the most sophisticated, ambitious, and advanced in their use of data, and help them set a new standard for local governments committed to using data to generate better outcomes for residents. Before delving into the details of the program, I would like to briefly reflect on why this is so important to us and why we are so excited to see you all here today. Bloomberg Philanthropies works to create better, longer lives for as many people as possible. This means much of our work is in cities, more than 900 around the world, for 3 big reasons. Number 1, more than half of the world's population is affected by policies set by mayors and carried out by city leaders. Number 2, by 2050, that number will increase to 68%. And number 3, our sponsor, Mike Bloomberg, is a former mayor and appreciates, uniquely among leading philanthropists, the role that cities can play in leveraging people, talent, and great ideas to move the world forward. With these reasons in mind, our drive to help cities harness the power of data is why we are here today. Since 2015, we've helped more than 250 cities improve the way they use data and evidence, and the progress has been fantastic. For example, we've seen the proportion of cities monitoring and analyzing progress toward key goals has risen from 30 to 75%. And we've seen mayors make better decisions that directly improve the lives of residents. And many of you know this firsthand. We have designed the Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance for those mayors who already are committed to using data to improve lives, and as part of that commitment, now want to take it to the next level. This program builds on nearly a decade of experience in improving data use and building data capacity in cities, including our work in creating a standard and a path to data excellence through the What Works Cities certification, with which many of you may already be familiar. You will later understand how the certification and City Data Alliance complement each other. City Data Alliance is a unique program that was designed with three important lessons from our work in mind. Building a data culture requires leadership from mayors and staff to set the guidelines, expectations, and drive investments in skills development, data use, and practices. The data in and of itself does not drive decisions, values do. Data is a powerful tool to drive value-based goals and find solutions to the complex problems your city faces every day. And finally, transformation is difficult, but an approach that focuses on citywide data policies and practices can add a new way of working in your city and lead to a lasting change. The program is designed for mayors who have already demonstrated the capacity and the commitment to use data to improve the lives of residents in their cities and want to ensure promising data use that extends across the city. It is an opportunity for mayors and their staff to delve deeper into the ways they use data to inform decisions, understand their impact, and communicate results to citizens. Mayors embark on a journey with leading data and evidence experts to lead confidently with data and understand their role in creating the conditions necessary for citywide adoption of data excellence. Investing in the right people, practices, and platforms to drive change with a particular focus on a challenge that they face, building a strong workforce capability in data use, empowering residents and staff to contribute to problem solving, and install an ongoing citywide policy and practice to elevate service delivery to residents. With that, I now turn the floor to my colleague, Carolina Araujo, to share more information about the structure of the program before moving on to your questions. Thank you, Florence. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina Araujo. I am part of the City Data Alliance team. In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about some important aspects of the program. City Data Alliance is comprised of two parts: an accelerator for mayors and senior officials, focusing on providing the building blocks needed to transform the data culture in your city, and a data practice tracks, a deep dive with global experts in one of four critical areas of data use to elevate your practice and make it sustainable citywide. In addition, from the beginning of our work with cities, we use the standard assessment of What Works City certification to understand and improve your city's capabilities. For the cities that are not certified, when they start the program, we will support them towards certification. I will start talking about the accelerator and then pass it on to Sheila to tell you more about data practice tracks. On the Accelerator, it kicks off with an in-person event to be held at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, USA. The mayors will participate in 3 days of activities with their peers and learn about their role in creating a data-driven culture. Mayors will be introduced to the basic concepts that will be covered during the 6-month Accelerator and how to lead their team to success during this time. As a central part of these 3 days, the mayors will develop a vision for what their city will address in the program and convey this to their staff, including the program leader. So what are the key results that we expect with the Accelerator? At the end of the Accelerator, your city will create or refine a citywide data strategy, a 3-year vision, and an action plan designed to advance your city's use of data and improve city outcomes. It will also cover the core components of data governance, quality, use, and transparency, and will include what is described here. Number 1, a new or enhanced data workforce strategy to assess the state of the skills and the data capabilities of your city, identifies the opportunities to improve the skills of current city staff, and describes how you will use resources to attract and retain new talent. Number 2, there will be a consistent protocol for the collection and use of disaggregated demographic data, and a new or enhanced centralized data platform that serves as a city data repository that collects, stores, and validates data for real-time use by mayors. All of this information is already available for you at our webpage. You have the link now in the chat. And before I turn over to my colleagues, we have now a few questions if you have on the Accelerator. Fine. There is a question, what implies the participation of the mayor in the program? The mayors that will participate in the program must be in the in-presence meeting in Baltimore, 3 days, where they will learn about the role that they have in a data culture. These mayors will know what the basic concepts are that will be dealt with during these 3 period. They will know how to lead the team during this period, and they will also set their vision to apply the data to their priorities, and which will be shared with the senior teams. The mayors also have 3 other responsibilities. Number 1 is establishing the mission and the vision of what their city will achieve through this program. The second is to identify a senior member of their team that will act as a contact point for the program and will be the leader of City Data Alliance. And number 3, name a team of 3 or 4 people of their executive team to participate in the Accelerator in the 6 months, and also have a technical team of the city for the data practice tasks chosen by their city. Number 4, identify a senior member of their team to implement the data strategy for the city that the city will create or refine during the program. For example, the data repository. Do we have any other questions? Perfect. We don't have questions so far, but we will have a Q&A session. So now I turn it on to Sheila to tell us more about the data practice tracks. Thank you very much, Carolina. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Sheila Dushila. I lead the Procurement Excellence I'm delighted to share more information about the data practice tracks from City Data Alliance, and I would like to thank all my colleagues who are here today. A central part of the data strategy includes your work in one of your 4 critical areas of data use. We consider that they are necessary to achieve data excellence. These data practice tracks are assessment, procurement excellence, performance management, and data as a service. These program areas are designed to help your teams deepen the city's practices and create the conditions necessary to spread these practices rather than focusing on specific projects. Each area is designed to help establish policies or standards citywide and consider the types of teams and capabilities needed to sustain these practices. I will give you more details on each area. First, data as a service led by public digital. This area will develop your city's use of data, policies, and people to enable a consistent way to design and run high-quality data services at scale that serve city teams and the public. The most advanced cities will move from open data portals to a problem-based approach. Number 2, evaluation, led by the Behavioral Insights team. They will create a citywide evaluation strategy that will help answer pressing questions. They will use this strategy to design better public policies. And finally, they will enhance the skills of your city's evaluation team to generate meaningful evidence and achieve more concrete results. Number 3, performance management, led by Bloomberg Center for Government Excellence at Johns Hopkins, designed to help mayors establish routines and processes to manage and measure the government's priorities. And finally, last but not least, procurement excellence, led by my colleagues at Harvard Government Performance Lab, designed to elevate the status of procurement as a strategic tool. We support cities to adopt practices that increase procurement efficiency, invite new and diverse suppliers, and achieve better outcomes for the procured goods and services. Again, as a reminder, you can refer to the data practice tracks at the additional resources page on our website for more information. And before we continue, are there any questions that I could answer? Okay, I will now turn to Carolina to share some details about the timeline and the application process. Thank you, Sheila. I will now share details about the timeline and the eligibility of the program. Beginning with the timeline, as a summary, the program will run from April 2023 to May 2024. The Accelerator and the data practice tracks start simultaneously after the in-person program launch in Baltimore. Depending on the data practice track in which you participate, the track will have a duration up to 12 months. In terms of eligibility, you have about what the program will offer, and we would like to share more with you now about which cities we believe that are best positioned to benefit from it. In terms of capacity, this program is designed for those cities that already are committed to using data to improve lives and now want to take it to the next level. In terms of terms in order to ensure sufficient margin to incorporate change, the mayor must have at least 3 years remaining in their current term. That is, until April 26, measured from the start of the program, or be eligible and plan to seek re-election, and have a term in effect until May 2024. Some examples of mayors that would be eligible. A mayor who is up for re-election in the second half of 24 and is eligible and plans to seek re-election. Or a mayor who was elected to a 4-year term in 22 and has more than 3 years left in office. In terms of population, as a general guideline, we expect medium and large cities in their respective regions to be the most suitable for the program. We define this as a population of 100,000 people or more in the US and Canada, and a population of 300,000 or more in Latin American cities. And finally, in terms of commitment, we request a firm commitment for the mayor and a designated member of staff to participate in the in-person convening in Baltimore in the US in April 23. Substitutes for the mayors will not be accepted in this event. Before we share details about the application process, we would love again to pause here for questions. And we already have some questions in the chat. The first question comes from Lori. If the city does not have a strong mayor, can another member of the council of the city participate? The answer is the cities that do not have mayors and strong city leaders are invited to apply, but the mayor must participate as a core member of the program and also fill in the application process. If selected, the mayor of that city, we expect, will participate in the in-presence event in Baltimore in April 2023 and the sessions online. Also, we encourage cities and city managers or other members that are part of the senior team of the Accelerator of City Data Alliance, including the 6 months of acceleration that have keynote sessions, workshops with other participating cities, and also coaching for each city. Our first group of cities, we had cities participating with the same structure, and they are being very successful. There is another question from Simon on whether we have already defined the dates for the in-presence event in Baltimore. The dates have not yet been defined, but they will be announced shortly in the next few weeks, and we will notify all the cities as soon as the dates have been set. There is another question from Marco Antonio, whether the mayor must, or the leader must be the mayor or a staff member that is designed. It must be the mayor, and they have a core participation in the event in Baltimore and also in the other sessions of the program. But the senior teams must participate actively in the programming of City Data Alliance during the 6 months. That is 3 periods of learning. Each period is 2 months, and it includes sessions with other cities as well as workshops with peer cities. And this program will be done online so that all cities can participate in this. And it is also complemented with individual coaching for each city. The senior teams also will support the technical teams designed to each of the tracks that the city will choose, and the program for each track is different, but most have workshops, individual sessions or workshops, or with other cities, and individualized coaching also. Well, if you have any questions, here we have the partners that represent the Accelerator and each one of the tracks. You can share your questions anyway through the Q&A feature that you can find at the bottom of your screen and write your question there. Or you can also raise your hands and ask the question online. I think Rodrigo has raised his hand. If you could say your name, your position, and the city you represent, please. We can't hear you, Rodrigo, but I guess your question is in the Q&A or the chat. Is that correct? Yes. And I will speak Portuguese. Is that all right? I'm Rodrigo Nunes. I am indicator manager here at the City Hall in Belo Horizonte in the state of Minas Gerais, Brazil. And together with the Undersecretary Janot, we are responsible for formalizing the enrollment of the city of Belo Horizonte together with at City Islands. A question that came up is the following. Our present mayor took office on behalf of the chosen mayor in March of this year. And between 2017 and 2021, he was Secretary of Finance. The questions in the enrollment, especially questions 4 and 5, ask the mayor to give examples of the use of data. Can this period be considered when he was Secretary of Finance as a mayor to respond the questioner? Thank you, Rodrigo, for the question. Yes, the answer is yes. He can consider his position as under mayor and as Secretary of Finance to answer those questions. Thank you. Thank you. Now I will go to information on the application, and then we open again for questions. We have designed the application process focused on two main factors: the capacity of the city to take on this work in a meaningful way, and the mayor's vision to make their government work better through data. More specifically, we're looking for cities that are already advanced in the use of data with practice in using data for decision-making. Cities in the US may have demonstrated this experience through advanced work with What Works City certification, although this is not mandatory. And the second is that mayors and teams must have a clear vision and a commitment to transformative use of data. And this includes a willingness to dedicate the time to establish lasting city-wide routines and systems for data use. You have probably done so, but if not, you can apply through a form on the website that we will share in the chat. The application process has 4 parts to complete. Number 1, a signed statement of commitment to the program. This form is a summary of the commitments involved in the program for the mayor, the designated program leader, and the members of the staff who will participate, accompanied by the signature of the mayor. Number 2 is a mayor's video response. The mayors will answer 3 questions about why they want to participate in the program, how the program will help their city improve the lives of residents, and number 3, why now is the time to participate. And the third part is the written application. There are 6 questions on how your city uses data now, where you believe your city's data practices are strong, where they need to develop further, and how your city is currently investing in data evidence and capacity. One question that asks you to rank the City Data Alliance tracks that are 4: performance management, procurement, evaluation, or data as a service, in order of preference for your city's participation, and include a brief justification. And number 4, the self-assessment of What Works City certification. This certification sets an international standard of excellence in city governance. City Data Alliance is fully aligned with this certification standard, and the self-assessment allows you to benchmark your city's current data use against best practices across 43 criteria. The goal of completing this assessment now is for the City Data Alliance team to gather information about your city's data capacity to better tailor the program experience to your needs. These are the application components. The support team of the City Data Alliance is available through the email, and you can find the link in the chat to answer your questions about the application process. And now we have time for any questions that you may have on this process. We also have here the partners that represent the Accelerator in each track. So once again, you can ask questions on the chat or raising your hand. And I see that we have questions already. There is a question on the tracks from Marco Antonio de Leon. In each topic, could you give us an example for each track that the municipalities must already be practicing to be eligible? So I will go to our colleagues from the tracks, beginning with Sheila. Thank you. In terms of our track, If you wish to be part of this track, you will help you have a transversal team, not only people from public procurement, but that you can identify departments that have priority contracts that are very visible to residents, or maybe someone from data. We want a team that has the capacity to work with us 2 or 3 hours a week and implement the changes that we will be working with you. And of course, you can find more information and specific data on the examples that we have given. Heidi? Thank you. In the case of data as a service, there are three key things. Number one, ambition and commitment with a digital transformation in the organization. Number two, have someone to lead the change in terms of data. So maybe a data director or someone who works with technology or someone who is specialized, and a background of having published open data or the capacity to identify data sources to develop these data services. Gabriela, on evaluation. Thank you. Within our evaluation area, just like in the other areas, we recommend that cities have experience having done project evaluations in the past and have systems to manage and collect data from the residents. If the city does not have experience in evaluations, we also recommend to apply, but it is one of the things that we are recommending cities to consider when they apply. Number two, at least 2 departments in the city should be interested in doing evaluations of policies or programs or services. And finally, number three, the cities should be willing to create or have the capability and the resources to create an evaluation team that has analytical skills to manage data. And these teams normally have 3 or 4 members. The idea is that they can dedicate time to this track in about 10 to 20% of the track. These would be the 3 recommendations for you to apply. And again, you can have more information in the program guidelines. Thank you. I go for performance management. In that case, what we need, as in all the other areas, is the commitment on part of the mayor and the staff to create this system for performance management and some baseline or some type of a progress in terms of collecting indicators for these measurements. These would be the 2 key requisites. There is a question from Marcos Torres from Mogi das Cruzes on the selection of the track. If a city chooses a track, but during the selection process, they identify that this city might be better off or needs more in other areas, how is this done? How is this selection done? This process, we will consider the point of view and the preferences of the city, but again, also the data that we will collect through the self-assessment of the What Works cities as to the data practices of the city. And based on that, we will define what will be the data practice track that the city will embark on. There is a question on the self-assessment form for what work cities in terms of how many of the criteria the city must fulfill to be considered for the program. And here, the idea is that the cities will be considered based on a holistic view of the application, and this includes the ability to sign the commitments and requirements of the program, the written application, and also the video on the part of the mayor. There is not a minimum of criteria for the city to be considered, but this will help us during the selection process to understand what the capacity of the city is, understand better where they are positioned in this journey of data use, and also adjust the activities of the program and the coaching, the individualized coaching, in case the city is accepted. Anyhow, we are looking for cities that already have some skills or capacities demonstrated in terms of data use. So this would not be a program for cities that are only beginning their journey in terms of data use. We still have time for more questions, so please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand and open your microphones. I think Rodrigo has raised his hand. Yes, Rodrigo. Carolina, I asked a question in the chat, but it's a question based on the last explanation that you gave us. The track is not chosen by the city. You will define, the program team will define based on the questionnaires that we will fill out. Is that correct? We are not autonomous to choose a data practice track. Yes, to clarify this, in the application form, in the written application form, there is a question where the city will say what the order of preference is for the data practice tracks. The first, second, third, and fourth preference. This will be taken into consideration. Also, we'll consider the self-assessment results. So the process is such that the preferences of the city will be considered, but also what the capacities are that the city has in terms of data use and the results of the self-assessment. We have time for more questions before we close, so please feel free to write them in the chat or open your microphones. I would also like to remind you that we have an email for information, City Data Alliance. You can see it in the chat, and we would be very glad to answer your questions on the application process, the program, and any other questions that you may have. There's a question on the video for the application, and the question is whether it is necessary for the mayor to participate in the video and whether the video must be edited or done professionally. The mayor must fill out the application video. We cannot consider other people. The video is an opportunity for mayors to share firsthand their goals and vision to participate in the program, but there is no need for the video to be professionally shot or edited. It can be filmed on a phone or just a basic camera. The important thing is the content and not the production quality. But the mayor must be the one who participates in the video. There's another question on the dates for application. What are the key dates for application? We will accept applications and we will identify the finalists until we have a group of exceptional cities for the next group of cities. So we encourage you to send your application as soon as possible for the group that begins in April 2023. Any other questions? There is a question from Marco Antonio on the data practices tracks. If a city can participate in all 4 areas or tracks, should they be interested in all 4 tracks? The answer is that each city will be assigned to one data practice track. As our colleagues mentioned, it is quite a lot of work, so we would like you to be fully dedicated to this area, but the accelerator will also help you build this data culture and data capacity, and there are components of all areas, but each city will be assigned to one data practice track. There is also a question from Simon about the evaluation area. In the United States, the cities have access to a large number of funds for COVID recovery and investments in infrastructure. And the city is interested in understanding the impact of these investments in terms of racial and social equity. The question is whether this could be an appropriate focus for the data practice track. Yes, I can answer this question. Yes, this is a perfect example of the type of program of project that we will be facilitating within the evaluation area. We have 5 excellence results or success indicators that we will use as a goal for the cities, and one of them is to have 2 evaluation projects. The other one is to have an evaluation policy, an evaluation agenda, and having an evaluation team and also support the departments. So within this track, as I said, we have the goal that the cities should have 2 evaluations. In this case, it could be process or impact evaluations, and this would be an excellent example of an impact evaluation that you could have during the time that you will be part of this data practice track. Thank you very much, Gabriela. There is another question on the eligibility of the mayors, and the question is whether the program is not available for mayors that do not begin their terms before the first quarter of 23. The requirements are that the mayor must be in office before 2023, must have at least 3 years as part of their current term, or have a current term that goes through May 24, but that must also be eligible for re-election. A correction, before April 2023, before April 2023, which is when we will have the in-person meeting. Thank you, Florence. All right. Thank you very much for all your questions. I would like to remind you also that the email is available for any other questions you have on the application process and also on the program. Now I will turn it over to Florence to close this meeting. We are very excited about your interest in the program, and we hope this has been informative and that will encourage you to consider whether City Data Alliance is right for your city and to apply. As a reminder, in the coming weeks, we will be hosting a panel discussion and other Q&A sessions if other team members would like to participate. And you can find all the information that we have shared with you and more on our resources page that will be again shared with you in the chat. Thank you, and remember that admissions for our next group of cities are open, so please send in your applications now. Have a nice day, everyone.